The Vatican announces a historic trip for Pope Francis. He will become the first pope ever to visit Iraq. It will be the Holy Father's first scheduled apostolic trip since the start of the coronavirus pandemic. In January, the Holy Father met with Iraqi President Barham Saleh. They discussed the importance of stability and preserving the Christian presence. Pope Francis has repeatedly expressed his desire to visit Iraq, and with pandemic conditions permitting, his trip will cover 4 provinces in 4 days in March. Joining us now with more is EWTN Newsroom correspondent Colm Flynn. Colm, great to see you as always. Tell us more about this trip Pope Francis is planning to take next year.
Good evening, Tracy. Well, Pope Francis has announced that he will visit Iraq next year from the 5th to the 8th of March. Of course, taking into consideration the pandemic and whether he will be allowed to travel internationally. But if the trip does go ahead, this will be the first apostolic trip in 15 months, his last trip being to Thailand and Japan in November of 2019. Now, when he does visit Iraq, he's planning to visit 4 provinces while he is there. Baghdad, the plain of Ur, which is also linked to Abraham, the city of Erbil, as well as Mosul and Karakosh. Now, the Pope has expressed interest in visiting the Middle East many times in the past. Even in June of last year, in a meeting with Catholic aid agencies, he expressed his deep desire to visit the country of Iraq. And, of course, the Pope has prayed for peace in Iraq on many occasions. And it seems, Tracy, that his trip would be welcome in the country because in an interview with the SIR news agency last year, Iraqi Cardinal Raphael Sako, he said that the people of Iraq would welcome the Holy Father with enthusiasm because they hold him in high esteem because of his simplicity and his nearness.
Well, as you know, Pope Francis met with the Iraqi president earlier this year. Can you remind us about that meeting?
Yeah, Tracy, when Pope Francis met with Barham Saleh, the president of the Republic of Iraq, that was on January the 25th of this year. And it's believed the two talked about bilateral relationships between the Vatican and the country of Iraq, and also the challenges that the country faces in terms of stability and reconstruction. Remember, given its turbulent past. They also talked about the challenges to the Christian community there, of which there are many. The Vatican said that their conversations focused on preserving the historical presence of Christians in the country and the significant contributions that Christians can bring to reconstruct the social fabric in society. Now, safety and security is a big concern in the country of Iraq, and the Holy Father mentioned to the President the need to guarantee the safety and security of Christians in the country. So much of their discussion was focused on peace.
Colm, do we know exactly how many Christians are there in Iraq?
We do, Tracy, and the situation is very uneasy for Christians in the country, and their presence, the community, the number of them has greatly diminished over the past 2 decades. For example, there were close to 1.5 million Christians in the country. That was prior to the US-led coalition. Then ISIS groups took over the Nineveh plain. That was a region that was primarily occupied by Christians, and the ISIS groups forced many of them to flee. And now in the country, they reckon there's around 300,000 Christians left. So church leaders are trying to encourage the Christian families to return to their homeland, to bring Christianity back to the country and help rebuild the nation.
Well, Colm, thank you so much for that report. Colm Flynn, EWTN Newsroom correspondent.
Thank you, Tracy.